flushing out any lactate that might be there, being hydrated, and definitely being fueled earlier on today. So, the nutrition of today would have been, highly important.
No, definitely. Expecting around 35 minutes. It's worth pointing out just before the flag drops, but it's essentially 1.5 laps of this Bologna course. They go out from the start line, up the climb, back down, back to the start, then basically back up to finish at the top of the climb. It is essentially a hill top finish. The countdown continues. 5, 4, I'm going to count down 2, 3, 2, 1, and we are off. A totally flat first section of about 6 Ks before the road rises, but unsurprisingly, some big power from these men. Look at the wattage being kicked out already, 9 watts per kilogram, but unsurprising, this is what we see so often in Zwift racing. It's kind of criterium style start or a cyclocross style start. That's what we're looking at.
Yeah, we see it time and time again. It doesn't matter what course or what route you're on. It's always high pace and it's always high power from the start. So we're consistently seeing 8, 9 watts per kilo from riders until they get into that rhythm and they can kind of settle down and find the pace, and also find the riders that they want to look out for and who they want to be surrounded by, because they know the key players tonight.
I think the thing about today that's intriguing is the bunch is all together at the moment. I don't expect there to be any breakaways early on, and as commentators we're going to ease ourselves into this race, but this is going to be something unique. We've commentated on pretty much all of the courses before: Innsbruck, New York, Watopia, and all the other courses. We've commentated on all of them, but never before like this. We've obviously seen, this is a replica, as we mentioned at the top, of the Giro d'Italia opening time trial, flat as a pancake essentially for up to 5 Ks. Then the road imperceptibly at first starts to rise. Then at 5.5 Ks, the road swings a harsh right, and then it kicks up, and then it's a hard slog to line. Got a couple of stats for you, because we'll get these stats in early, because I'm expecting there to be a lot of action on this course. Okay, the fastest ascent of the climb, now the climb starts at the bottom in terms of the timings, is from a rider in this field. That's Morten Vang with 6 minutes and 10 seconds. Okay, Chris Beck is second with 6:11. Alex West also here, of course, with a 6:12. Philippe Danier with a 6:12. Then Ryan Larson also riding with a 6:19. And the lap record, which is basically from the start to the top of the climb, well, that's 13 minutes and 43 seconds from a rider called Chris Beck, and that equates to 6.4 watts a kilo, which is very, very high.
Absolutely incredible numbers, and it'll be interesting to see in a race and when riders are in a peloton and in a bunch and having that draft effect from others, and when it's a race situation, actually how these records on the climb as well as the lap record will fare. Actually, I think we could see some records being broken, because all it takes is someone to go for the KOM. Well, there's only one KOM tonight. And for them to go for that KOM, and actually it just splits it to bits, and see records fall.
Exactly. Well, we're used to seeing, as you said, intermediate hotspot sprints. We saw them just last week, of course, in the women's race on the Richmond course. There was 2 sprints, 2 King of the Mountains as well. Very, very different sort of style to this race. I do like the way that we're kind of mixing up the style of racing, and I am intrigued to see how the riders fared today. Just saw Will Burke felt that, just riding through, a rider that I've raced against in the real world, very experienced, a veteran now, 40 years of age, but a real mix here. Still a fair way to go here, 22.3 kilometres left. Looking at Morten Vang's stats in a few moments' time, but I'm expecting at this early stage in the race, the riders essentially to be watching each other, trying to conserve energy, because when they hit that climb, and we're looking at around 6 minutes or 6.5 minutes of effort, depending, of course, on how they ride it, but it's 6.5 minutes at threshold, isn't it?
Yeah, and you don't want to go into the climb having done too much work. You want to conserve as much energy as possible, especially going into the climb, and even actually the first ascent of the climb. You want to try and ride it so that he's still in contention, but actually he's still saving energy for the next lap and for the final and the main ascent of the race, which is the finishing lap up the climb.
It is.
So yeah, I think everyone's kind of just watching each other, keeping it, turning over, ticking over. And if you look at Morten Vang, you can just shows you there, 250 watts. His revs per minute, 91. His heart rate is not exceedingly high. He's just sitting nicely there in 10th place out of the 76 races we've got tonight.
Yeah, there's a big field here, which is always good to see. Good, interesting. We're just talking about the riders holding on, conserving energy, sort of floating between sort of 250 and sort of 300 watts there. So well within the capabilities of all of these riders at the moment. Nobody is out the back. Although saying that, we've just seen a rider accelerate off the front. I was going to ask, it's Goldberg has accelerated from Canada. I did think because we're going to see a lot of riders conserving energy, what that does open up and what it provides a potential opportunity is for riders to get away early on, and that's what we're seeing.
Yeah, definitely. And I think if a rider, doesn't fancy the chances and isn't confident in their abilities on the climb, actually go early, force the others to chase you before you get to the climb. And actually, when you get to the climb, you have a bit of sliding room. So, you've already got that advantage. By the time the group catches you, you actually have time to, if you do get caught, you can still be in contention by the top of the climb.
I'm wondering if he just tried to kind of just test the waters there, because he went clear, accelerated hard, and then soon dropped back down to sort of 200-300 watts. Another rider has just gone off the front from the KRT team. That's Kayland, 5.4 watts a kilogram. He's pushing on pretty hard here. Trying to get away is the Norwegian. Very, very good to see. Opened up a little bit of a gap. Only 1 second, though. But I don't think he's going to be given too much leeway. Still on this very, very flat section of the course. It won't be long, though, before they've got that climb in sight and it starts to ramp up on the lower slopes.
I think despite, his effort you saw there is 5.7 watts per kilo. And actually in the peloton, they were still only doing 3, but they were actually catching him. So for that effort, it just shows you how much effort you have to do. And you're actually still not even getting away. And, he only gained a maximum of 1 second. So it just shows how hard it is to get away on this course.
It certainly is. The riders all Gruppo Compacto, as the Italians would say. The climb itself, the actual name of the top of the climb is the Madonna de San Luca, which of course they raced in the Giro d'Italia. And here they are. I can just sort of sense the nerves in these riders now, waiting because they know there's going to be a real onslaught. We say it's a real cliche for commentators to say it's a race of two halves, but believe you me, it is. Flat as a pancake, and then 5.5 Ks to go. The road kicks up, especially the last 2 kilometres. The climb itself maxes out at around 16% grade, and the average climb is just under 10%. That makes it very, very steep. But the intriguing prospect for me is how the riders descend. We're going to have a little bit of a video clip of the top of the climb to explain how the descent is going to be ridden, because we have something called the super tuck, which, if the riders know what they're doing, and we expect that many of them will know how to ride a super tuck, briefly explain the super tuck, because that is going to be a very, very important tactical ploy to play today.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, within this field, there's so many experienced riders. I mean, we've got 9 riders who are level 50 Zwifters, which is absolutely incredible. But many of them even are high top 30s level Zwifters. So I'm sure most of them will know what the super tuck is. But if the downhill is steeper than 3%, and the rider's already travelling faster than 35 miles per hour, they can stop pedaling and reduce the power to under 10 watts. It puts them into this super tuck. So effectively, they can actually recover on the downhill after that huge effort on the climb. It's just the most aero position in Zwift. And, it's definitely one which you want to take advantage of.
Without a doubt, but it's going to be. This is the wonderful thing about the gamification of Zwift. We know we're going to talk about the power-ups in a little bit as well. It's something they're going to have to know about, because we saw in training some riders doing recons. We can see another rider accelerating off the front here. This is Callan. This is just the bottom of the climb here. They're just going round the bottom bend. First through was Tom Ove Calland of Norway from Team Kiss, and this is the lowest slopes of the climb. I can't believe we're on it so quickly, but look at the stats: 10.4 watts per kilo on the lowest slope. Still just over 6 minutes of effort. He's going very, very early. Do you think he's going too early? That could be a bit of a gamble.
This is a big, big gamble for Callan. He's opened up a gap, but there's already riders going out the back before they even got to that hairpin. So it just shows actually the speed and the power that they were putting in, ramping up into this climb. It was already putting people out the back, and we weren't even on the hardest parts of the climb. But Vang now doing a very, very good job. Opened up 2 seconds to Evans of Rowan King. Well, 4 seconds further back. But you can just see on this shot now, just look at the gap he's got already. 2 seconds doesn't sound a lot, but on a climb like this, actually, it's very, very hard to close.
But just look at a few riders, very experienced riders behind Morten Vang from Norway. Opting for no helmet with a nice beard there at the front, still putting out some big power. Still 7.1 watts per kilo. Dropping away now. Evans from Wales, not too far away at all. Silver medalist previously in the British Zwift Championships. He's actually a former badminton player, but not too far away is Ollie Jones as well, 4 seconds behind. He is a rider that knows how to pace himself on this climb. But I'm wondering here if we're seeing a kind of move to go more for the King of the Mountains or for a longer term race strategy. But if you get over the top, Hannah, with a few seconds lead, 3 or 4 seconds, and you get into that aero tuck, well, that could give you a nice advantage at the bottom of the climb.
Well, that's the thing. All you need to do is make it up there, and actually you can open up the gap to your racers. The riders, if they're descending at 33, 34 miles per hour, actually it's worth just sprinting to get over 35 miles per hour to be able to get into that super tuck. But they just have to be aware that as soon as the gradient flattens, they will come out of that super tuck and lose speed very, very quickly.
Well, this is the rider in second position. This is Ryan Larson from the Dirt team. 189 BPM. That's going to be at his threshold. I can tell you that. 403 watts he is sustaining at the moment. There he is, Ryan Larson from the Dirt team, with that brown, with the black and orange kit. Only a couple of seconds behind now, but he's holding steady. But impressive riding by the lead rider at the moment, still Vang, looking exceptionally good. But Larson here, lower cadence, and this is what we're expecting. We see slightly lower cadence on the climbs, and I'd imagine wherever the riders are on that steep section, they're actually going to be riding out of the saddle and really putting a lot of torque through the bike.
Yeah, definitely. Especially on a gradient like this, you're always going to be out of the saddle. But some riders, find it easier to have that lower cadence. Some, just naturally have that style of pushing a big gear and sort of like grinding it over. In my opinion, for a climb as long as this, actually, and as hard as this, I think it's better to kind of keep your cadence, quite high actually, and you should save something for the save energy, especially for the next time round.
Well, it's really starting to split up now. Really starting to split up. We've got the first sort of 10 riders spread over 4 or 5 seconds. It's still Vang in the lead. Still 7.2 watts per kilogram. This is mightily impressive. Still 17.5 kilometers to go. I remember riding up this in the real world. I was weaving my bike all over the place. I certainly wasn't putting out this sort of power, but this is a mightily impressive ride by Vang. Larson still in second. Then we have Dynia, Lindsay, Bay, and a couple of riders dropping away now, starting to struggle. Alex West is a little bit further back as well. These are the riders a little bit further down. This is Philipp Dynia of Germany for the ZCC team in third position. Just look at the power there. 450 watts he's maintaining at the moment.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible, but he has got this little group now, so this is perfect. There's 3 of them now working together, 4 of them together. Actually, if they can actually force the pace and actually work together and use the draft of each other, they can ride away. I'm very surprised, to be honest, to see Alex West where he is. Especially because he's third on the record lap record on this course.
Oh, the gap is open.
Yeah, sorry,
I was just reading, just agreeing with you there. But as you're saying, just to quote, to look at Alex West, he's 6 seconds behind. But again, has Vang spent a little bit too much? The road flattened slightly here. That was a very, very steep section. Then it just kicks up again to the line. It just gradually goes up through. It flattens slightly for the final bit, mercifully for these riders. Now, there's 2 riders, and we'll think Dynia is going to actually join up with Larson at the front. And there's a clear daylight has opened up. It's a very, very interesting situation on the road. To remember, King of the Mountains points on offer for the first time up, and the winner out of the King of the Mountains will be the first rider across the line, because remember, this is only points first time up. Then we descend the climb again. Aero tuck is going to be absolutely important, and of course the all-important power-ups as they go under the King of the Mountains arch. The riders are going to be praying they get a feather for the final time up this climb.
Yeah, definitely. That's the thing. When you're only going through the finish arch and then the start arch, there's not that many opportunities to get these power-ups. So you're going to have to use your power-ups wisely. If you do have an aero power-up, maybe actually you want to use it on the descent or the flat section where, sort of to break away. But all these riders will be praying for a feather lightweight.
They certainly will. This is a little clutch of riders just behind. Larson is there, Hertz, Dynia, also Muir, Bay, a little clutch of 6 or 7 riders, and now we're seeing Dynia just trying to attack off the front of this group, but there's only one rider in front. It looks like he's going to take the points. Larson is still there. This is a little, well, Gardner has now overtaken. It won't be long before we actually round the corner and they'll actually go under the King of the Mountains banner, which next time up will, of course, be the finish line. Remember, 1.5 laps of this circuit, and already we're seeing some big gaps open. There's the squirrel just on the right-hand side. You won't see that in the real world, but there we go. Over the top. The points are taken by the rider out in front at the moment. And this is the sprint for second and third place. And there we go. That is the top of the climb, and now they'll essentially do a U-turn in the road. There's the spin round and essentially come back exactly the same way they've come. The all-important aero tech will take them a little bit of time to get the speed up to adopt. But look at the damage that has been done behind. Lots of quality riders, a lot of making up to do.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is, really good for mentally for the riders who are out front now, because they can see the damage that they've done, how much, they've made this race split up. You can just see it. It's riders all over the road. It's exploded. And that will be detrimental to those riders who are dropped, because they'll see that actually riders are always already on the way back down. And, they won't want to come back.
We're going to have a little, explain a little bit more about the Super Tuck. We've got a little VT for you coming up in just a few moments' time, because it's all important. Of course, only one time down this descent, but if you get it right, here it is. This is the Super Tuck VT to explain exactly the tactics on the descent.
Riders are looking to conserve energy after the first climb. You may see them enter Zwift's Super Tuck position. If the downhill is steeper than 3% and the rider is already travelling over 35 miles per hour, stopping pedalling and reducing power to under 10 watts puts the rider in Super Tuck. It's the most aero position in Zwift, and on steep gradients speed will increase whilst giving the rider a breather.
There we go. The riders have now got into Super Tuck. A lot of the van draft truck boosts are being used as well. Remember, riders will want, if they haven't got a feather up, they're going to want to use those power-ups on this downhill section or on the flatter section to give them a chance to get another power-up as they go through the start arch at the bottom. And as we said before, they need to get that feather power-up for this final climb, but there's some big gaps that have opened up already in this race. Yeah,
this is absolutely huge, and I don't think, there's any coming back for those riders who were dropped. Very good tactic using the draft, the aero truck van. Here you can see on the downhill and on the flat, because actually it means that you can get that free speed, and actually you can almost like freewheel, especially when you're in the bunch. So saving energy is paramount.
Well, it has actually come back together on this descent. They whipped down that descent exceptionally quickly. Didn't take them very long at all. They're now on the flat section. This is our clutch of riders we've got in front. Larson is there. Remember, he was the rider across the line in first place. Bay is there. West is also in the mix. Deigner as well. This is the front group of riders. It looks as if we've got about 10 or 12 riders in this front group. This is a very, very good group, and expect these riders now to really start working hard to basically distance themselves from the rest. And although we are only around halfway, I think it's going to be exceptionally difficult for any other riders now to get across this gap, because these are the best riders in the race.
Yeah, definitely. West is up there, Ryan Beavis is up there, Bay's in there. It's kind of like a who's who of Zwift racing in this group. As you see the KOM results on the left-hand side. So Ryan Larson took max points with 5, Matt Gardner with 3, Sam Lindsay took the 2, and Bay took the 1. So Larson, winner of this KOM competition tonight.
He has. He certainly said the cat amongst the pigeons is a couple of riders expected to be in that group. That Ollie Jones hasn't looked like he's made it into that group. That is a big, big surprise. But Alex West is there. Always very, very dangerous indeed is West, the New Zealander. Riding for Canyon ZCC, only 22 years of age, level 37 Zwifter, made it to the Zwift Academy finals. But this is this clutch of riders. As you said, Bay is there, Beavis, a couple of Welsh riders. Well, they're going to rest up a little. And this is the interesting thing now. Do they kind of rest up and kind of recuperate, or do they work amongst each other to make sure that no other riders can get back in contact? But as we know in Zwift racing, once a big breakaway, significant breakaway is established, it is very difficult to get back in contention.
Yeah, I think with these riders' experience, actually they can just kind of recover and rest a little bit, because like you say, Matt, it is so hard to come back to a group when you are dropped. So on this flat section, this is the last chance they will get to save any energy. Also take some fluids on, maybe take a gel before the final time up the climb. But you can just see the watts, all around 3.2, 3.4 watts per kilo. So really quite easy for these riders. It's definitely they're capable of more, let's say.
Yeah, I think they are. They're playing their cards a little bit close to their chest. Over a little bit of a hump in the road there, just rolling through nice and steady now, just under 12 kilometres to go. Bay there on the outside. Just to go through the list of national champions we've got in this race as well. We had quite a few national champions riding last week. We've got Warren Muir of Canada, the Canadian champion this year, Alexis Jalman of Denmark. He's running for Fusion. And of course, Francois Kopex for Switzerland, the national champion of that country, but I don't think any of our national champions have actually made it into this front split. But Larson has, of course. He's the rider who was first across the line and did the U-turn first. Again, the first time we've seen that. But this little group of riders now, as is illustrated there at the front of the race, all relaying very, very well. And I really do not think we're going to see any rider get back into contention. Too much at stake here. But how much of these riders given on the climb? Are we going to see riders that were a little bit further back? And it's interesting on a climb when you're riding that deep, isn't it? That if you hold back even 4 or 5 seconds, that can really help you last time up, because everybody's only got a finite amount of energy to use. Yeah,
it's kind of... when I was racing, you always said you had a sugar block, and every time you make an effort, you're sort of chipping away at that. And by the time you get to the end of the race, actually you're left with nothing. So you want to go into the final of the race with as much sugar on your block as possible. But Matt, just look on the left-hand side of the road. The group is coming back. The front group, is eased up so much that actually a huge group of riders is coming back to the front of this race, and they're getting back into contention.
They are. The gap is closing. This is something we do not see very often. But Hannah, we have never used this course on Zwift racing before. That group behind, we wrote them off. They are back in contention. We've now got a big group still in the mix here. That's absolutely fascinating, and it just shows how much these riders were worried about the next time up the climb. We're going through the start-finish area very, very shortly. That's when we're going to get some more power-ups for these riders. We've got an attack off the front straight away when the junction was made. Textbook move there, and Ollie Jones has now gone clear. He didn't make the first split. He's made the second one, and now he goes clear on his own.
Yeah, he knew he was struggling up the climb, so he thought, you know what, as soon as I get back to this group, I'm going to attack. I'm going to surprise them, take them by surprise. I'm going to get a jump on them, so when I get to the climb, he has sliding space, like we said before. He is a former Zwift Academy winner, so we know he's good. He's racing on the road at the minute for Dimension Data for Quebecer, so he's got some great racing in his legs.
He certainly is. Well, he's 23 years of age now. He's a level 37 Zwifter, but spent the 2018 season with Dimension Data after winning the 2017 Zwift Academy. And there he is out in front, 429 watts. This is on the flat section. This is a big, big investment. But let's have a look at the time gap. He's actually got 3 seconds on Larson. Larson knows that Ollie Jones is a very dangerous rider. That's why we've seen him trying to bridge across the gap. They want to get back into him before he hits the bottom of that climb. But a very, very aggressive race we're seeing now.
But just look at the way, Jones used his effort there, and as soon as Larson caught him, he just went straight out the back. He had nothing to react, no reaction, nothing in his legs, and I'll be surprised if he even stays with this group now. But this front group, as soon as it got back together, it's been catapulted and split to bits.
Indeed, well, Steve Young has now gone clear for the ZCC team, the first team. Well, the first official professional team to do esports on Zwift. Stevie Young in front there with that rather fetching jersey that ZCC have. Here we going through the streets of Bologna, rendered beautifully here in Zwift. Let's have a little look at whether there's going to be a little bit of a calm before another storm. It has. Well, a couple of riders have gone clear now. We've got 4 or 5 riders just clear now of the rest of that group. They're holding a 5-second gap. 9.3 kilometres to go, but remember 5.5 kilometres of those are all uphill to the summit of the climb of the Madonna San Luca, up to the squirrel at the top. And remember, we don't come down again. It is a hill top finish.
Yeah, all riders getting themselves prepared now. Madsen, Hertz, Larson, Steve Young up there. I must say, Matt, best jersey in Zwift. The Canyons ZCC.
Well, they do that
beautiful
on the road. The Canyon SRAM women's team have got the best jerseys. There we go. We're slightly biased, but it is a rather fetching jersey. It kind of evokes the kind of online world, I think, and racing on Zwift. This is what this is all about. This little group now going 3 riders, should I say, going clear. 2 riders trying to get across the gap. Riders being very, very attentive, but also a little bit cautious as well. They do not want to put themselves into the red too much, because once you're around the hairpin at the bottom of the climb, it's uphill all the way. Flattens out ever so slightly, remember. just before the finish line, but 8.6 kilometers to go. These are the flat running to the climb. When I say flat, it's imperceptibly going uphill just before the big climb itself, so a bit of a drag, but riders will need to try and conserve as much energy as they can. That's Muir just going through there. That's the Canadian national champion on Zwift. So one of the national champions did make it, just going through the arch here. Bit of a cheer from the appreciative climb, and so there's a few more power-ups going through. A featherweight power-up has been obtained there, but there's a group of around, I think, 11 or 12 riders who are going to take the bottom of this climb. Well, wonderful scenes here. Hansen now moves to the front.
It's interesting to see these riders, going quite early. I mean, he looks quite in control and very comfortable, but it's kind of who is going to chase, who's going to bring back these solo riders, and also, they know how hard it was on the first time up the climb. Obviously, they didn't know what to expect in a race situation, but where will the next attack come from?
I don't know. It's very difficult to predict this. We can never predict any sort of e-racing. Of course, difficult to predict Zwift. But we do know that, generally speaking, well, we've never ever seen a big bunch come back into contention. And I think that's what's very unique about this course. Of course, round 4. Well, not round 4. They're all individual classics. This is the Trofeo Bologna. The men are on show, and they are really attacking this race. And one rider now who is going clear. That's riders coming in the other direction. Riders that have been considerably distanced, losing 2.5 minutes on the climb. That just shows how ferocious and how difficult this climb is.
I'm actually loving this course. The fact that it's, people are able to come back if they are dropped, but actually just how it shows how hard it is. Because generally you don't ever get to see riders dropped so, extreme. Actually, so loving this course.
It is an interesting course indeed, but it looks as if this solo rider, who's currently clear at the moment, is going to get caught again. There's a willingness in this pursuit behind. As you said, it is Berg Hansen. It looks like his tenure at the front. Yeah, he's just dropped down the watts. They're just riding under 300 watts. He'll know what the gap is as well. I think it is a wise move not to pursue on your own. You could potentially capitulate and lose a lot more time on the climb itself. A wise move, I think, to get back in contention, to slip into the wheels, get that slipstream effect, and of course maybe think about what power-ups you're going to use on this climb, because the riders, no more opportunities now for the riders to get any extra power-ups. It's keeping those on board, and riders hoping amongst hope that they have the featherweight power-up as we just passed another giant squirrel on the left-hand side.
Quite creepy, isn't it?
I quite like it, actually. I quite like it. I don't think the riders will be too focused on that. That's the unique thing about Zwift. We can have a little bit of fun with the terrain. And of course, the walkway that goes to the top of the climb of the Madonna del San Luca, the walkway on the left-hand side, when the Giro went up, that is the larger, well, for a bit of a fact for you, it's the longest covered walkway in the world. History aside, back to the racing. Still all to get at the front, about 12, 15 riders in there. Edgar Brooks now moves to the front, an exceptional rider from the United States of America. A couple of, and trying to pick out the teams here. A couple of riders from ZCC in the mix. Dirt are well represented as well.
Yeah, only one rider represented from Rowan King's squad though. So Duggleby didn't make it, but it's only Beavis who's there. Bergfeldt was dropped on the climb. So, Beavis is left all to himself. No teammates to help him tonight. So not in a very strong position, but I know he's a very good climber. And, he's a very experienced Zwifter as well. With a lot of Zwift racing. Yeah,
definitely. Some of these riders have got a lot of Zwift racing under their legs, especially the riders in the ZCT team. They're a relatively newly formed squad, but all of those riders have got a lot of experience on Zwift. As we see Gray moving to the front, a lot of rotation at the front, riders taking their turn. But there's a big gap to the next group on the road. In fact, the next group on the road now, Hannah, 53 seconds to drift. So I think we can safely say that the winner is going to come from a rider within this lead group at the moment with 5.5 kilometers to go. The road now starts to drag up just a little bit, and it won't be long before we hit that harsh hairpin, turn right, and the climb really does start to bite.
Yeah, and you can see what's coming as well, can't you? It's the average of 9.6%, but that max gradient of 16%, that is where it's going to really bite, and riders going to have to, full effort there. You're not going to be able to look at each other. It's just going to be a full effort on this climb, especially in the running, the final few hundred meters to the finish as well.
Indeed. So Leicester's there, Segerbrooks is there, Young, Deigner. Of course, Gardiner is there, Christensen, Ollie Jones is also there. The rider that we were surprised didn't make this front split, but maybe he just used the other riders. Of course, exceptionally experienced, has won lots of races on Zwift as well as the Zwift Academy. He is a rider that knows how to pace his effort and goes very, very well on these climbs as well. I have a feeling that a couple of riders just thought, looking at the watts per kilogram, we know the best times up this climb. If riders are going quicker than that, experience says to you, I'm not going to push myself into it. There's no way that a rider can do that twice. I'm just going to hold back a little bit and save everything to the end. Almost like riding this race as a TT, but as a negative split.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you just got to be confident in what your abilities are and actually be realistic of what you can do. If you can see on the left-hand side, you can see the KOM record. So Vang at 6 minutes 10. Beck, only 1 second back, 6:11. And Alex West is in this group as well. So 6 minutes 12 with Diger 6 minutes 12 and Larson 6:19. Larson also in this group. So actually, it's going to be very, very close as to who will be up there in this final.
Of course, and Larson with a 6:19. Not too sure what his time was tonight, but that's a previous time that they've taken. But Larson, of course, took maximum points. He is in the King of the Mountains jersey. And we've seen another attack off the front. It is Larson. I think he's going clear. No, sorry, Van Gate from Belgium now goes clear. He immediately opens up a couple of seconds gap in the black kit there with the Belgian flag tippings on his shorts. Accelerating away and has immediately opened up 5 seconds. Chris Beck is trying to get across from the dirt team. Beck needs to get across, and this will be a formidable deal. Let's have a look at the stats here. Kern Van Gate putting out just under 500 watts. Big move here, Hannah.
This is huge, especially at the bottom of the climb, making such an effort so early on the climb. But Beck, who, we just saw his record time of the King of the Mountains, 6 minutes 10. So, he's got across to Van Gate of Belgium. Got a 4-second lead now over Steve Young from the Canyon ZCC. He's chasing across, putting in a big effort to get across, but it's Larson who's also now attacking to try and make it across to Beck and Van Gate.
Well, Beck has gone straight through to the front again. For 453 watts, really pushing on. He knows this is a very good breakaway. Larson in 4th position. They're just trying to get across the gap now. Young has managed to get across there. Good riding by Steve Young, level 35 a Zwifter from Great Britain, riding for the ZCC team. Very experienced move there. Sits in the slipstream here, and I think Larson, the winner of the King of the Mountains, is going to make contract, making 2 riders from dirt in the front, Beck and Larson. But the Belgian goes again. Van Gate very impatient here, and we still have the climb to go.
He's just trying to break them, isn't he? He's trying to, do that.
The road kicks up, average just under 10%, maxing out just near the top at a brutal 16%. But Kern Van Gate of Belgium getting into his rhythm now. The watts have dropped down a little bit, but this is the sort of effort a rider of this quality could maintain to the finish. But he's got 3 very dangerous racers, should I say, biting at his heels.
Yeah, dirt, really need to decide which rider is going to chase here. It's kind of got to go all in for one of your teammates because, Larson and Beck, both teammates. Steve Young actually can almost sit on those 2 riders and let them take it up.
Indeed, well, a good bit of riding there by Young. He needs to lead it up to the dirt riders, but it is Kern Van Gate, 29 years of age from Belgium, still in the lead. A level 50 Zwifter. As I said, many riders here, level 50 and above. But Beck is coming across the gap. That's a good move by the American. Just under 400 watts immediately. As soon as he gets into the slipstream, drops it back, takes a breath. This is the right-hander. You can see the covered walkway on the left-hand side. This is where the gradient starts to bite. They've got a good 3 or 4 seconds lead on the group just behind, containing Larson. And Beck is moving away. No, it's Larson. The Belgian. Van Gate now moving clear on the lower slopes of the climb.
He's done it again. This is the 3rd time he's done it. That he attacks and then he lets them get across, and then he just attacks them again. So it's kind of, they've made that effort. And, he just puts them under pressure once again. He's just riding away. He can open up the gap immediately. So it's Steve Young and Beck just trying to get back to them. Beck's actually gone completely out of contention here. Larson's up with him.
Well, Van Gate still in the lead, but it looks like he's tiring just a little bit, 6.1 watts per kilogram. This is the sort of watts these riders need to maintain. Larson, Young, Alex West, only 2 seconds adrift. We know how dangerous Alex West is, knows how to pace himself. Bay, a further 2 seconds adrift. Then we have a clutch of riders, but now on the lower slopes. Well, look at this. Ollie Jones, only 2 seconds behind now. Ollie Jones, for me, is looking very dangerous. So look at the stats of Bay there. 8.1 watts per kilo. How long can he sustain that?
Yeah, I mean, not so long ago, Bay was at 14 seconds, so he's closed that gap nicely and actually kind of unanimously. You know, he is a level 42 Zwifter, and actually, he's got a great stat here. 9th with the most Strava KOMs, and he actually, for the minor climbs, with 283 KOMs.
Well, there we go.
Unbelievable.
That just shows the kind of...
I was going to say, it shows what kind of climber he is.
It certainly does. Shows the talent. But now we're seeing a bit of bunching up at the front. We've still got the steepest part of the climb to go. Young, Larsen, Bay, West, Deigner from Germany. Lindsay has got across the gap. Brandlund as well from Sweden now there. Christensen as well. So riders here just thinking about things just a little bit. They know they've got the hardest part of the climb to come, but we're going to see this little bit of a run is the catalyst for another acceleration from Deigner. Deigner now goes clear as many other riders get back into contention, but the rider from Germany, from ZCC, is pushing clear here. Fascinating stuff.
Yeah, he's being chased down by Bay. He's already opened up a 1 second lead, but West is moving up now. Bay, you know, no one's really got any reaction, but actually, you know, are they just holding back a little bit and pacing the time?
Well, this is a climb. We know this is a race in two halves, the climb and the flat, but the climb is in two halves as well. The gradient lessens just a little bit. We get a couple of switchbacks, and then for around 200 or 300 meters, it ramps up at a massive 16%, then flattens again before kicking up gently to the line. This is Philip Deigner, the race leader at the moment, 190 beats a minute, 80 RPM, and just done well, holding around 470 watts at the moment. And it's Bay. He's got a 1 second gap on Bay from the Fusion team from the Netherlands. From Denmark just behind, and look at the damage that's been caused. Still an interesting little clutch of riders. He can't rule out any of these riders just yet.
No, as we're going into the bottom of the climb, actually it was so split up, and actually it's come back together as we go through these switchbacks. You can take a look and see where everyone is. Bay is getting onto the back of Deigner now, so he's come back into contention, putting 2 seconds to Larsen.
Now this is the steepest part of the climb. You can just see the gradient, the coloured the walkway just behind the riders, and Deigner now 484 watts. This sort of gradient, some of the riders are going to be nudging around 500 watts. The gap is coming down. Other riders, Alex West now in 4th position, coming in to play. Another rider just coming outside, Larsen, Brunlund. West now moving up for the Zwift team. Well, this is fascinating stuff. It's West now who moves into 1st position with a massive surge.
That is huge. 560 watts he got up to there when he attacked. And you can see now you've only got 900 meters to go. This is the time to make your effort. There's nothing to lose. You've got nothing to hold back for. It's kind of an all-out effort. You know, West going for the win now.
Now, this is all about one committed effort. Alex West, 459 watts, 96 RPM, at or near his threshold. He's got a hold, but he's still got quite a long way to go. Still the road kicks up. 876 meters to the finish line. Deigner isn't too far behind. He's a teammate, of course, of the race leader, Alex West from New Zealand, who knows how to win at Zwift races, but has he got what it takes? Can he maintain this sort of effort? 6.3 watts per kilogram. This is going to be so difficult. 6 or 7 riders snapping at his heels.
It's going to be tough, but actually he's maintaining it, Matt. You know, it's 6.4. Actually, everyone else is on around 5.9. It's Lindsay coming up now from the Kiwi. 2 seconds. This is incredible. This is phenomenal. The watts that are being thrown down. It
really is. It's the sort of effort we know Alex West knows how to time these climbs. We know he's got that top end as well, but can he sustain it? These meters are ticking by so slowly because of the gradients, but mercifully now, round this bend, the gradient just starts to lessen a little bit. It still drags up all the way to the line, but not anywhere near as steep as before. West now with a 5 second lead over the second rider, Bay. It looks like he's got this unless he really starts to capitulate, but West finds even more power. 500 watts plus.
This is incredible. You could see there as he saw where the gradient lessened a little bit. Actually, he was able to push even harder, and that was what broke everyone. He's able to open up the gap. 7 seconds now to Bay.
I think he's got this in the bag. It is very difficult to see unless somebody else is holding something very special back into the last half a K, 400 meters in fact, and Alex West still nudging north of 450 watts, still in first place. He's got a bit of daylight between. There's a clutch of riders battling it out for the other positions as well, but still 300 meters to go. The road is going to lessen in gradient in a minute round these bends, out of sight, out of mind. There we see the telecommunications mast, but it's all about communicating with himself here. Has he got enough to take it?
The time gap's actually coming down from 7 seconds, 6 seconds. Has, you know, Alex West got enough time to hang on and take the win? Or, you know, who's got featherweight is going down now.
Oh, so the riders using the featherweight power-ups. This could be the death knell for the rider out in front. Alex West is still clear, but he's got enough daylight. I think West is now is still in front. West is still out in front. I couldn't quite see it there, but West is going to take a victory by around 6 seconds. What a virtuoso performance by the 23-year-old from New Zealand. It looks like Larson, well, Bay is in second place. Larson is in third. We'll get confirmation for that from you very, very shortly as the riders slow down. But what an amazing win from Canyon ZCC for Alex West of New Zealand. Absolutely breathless stuff. Again, I need a bit of a lie down, but Hannah, he went long, but we thought he'd maybe gone too early, but he just had that top end. He had the power, he had the endurance. That's Zwift racing to a T.
He didn't even have a power up, and he just opened up that gap, and he just carried on, and he played to the advantage of the gradient as well. When it flattened out a little bit, he actually put down more power and opened up more gap to Bay and Larson. Well,
let's have a look at the closing stage of the race again. They'll roll that in a moment for you. I mean, just give us a couple of seconds to catch our breath. I mean, Alex West, I think all of the participants in this race are going to need a bit of a lie down, but that was the Trofeo Bologna, won by this rider. Last few metres, there we go.
Yeah, he could almost, his watts went down to 1.3 watts per kilo. You could just see he had time to celebrate, time to relax, and, no one was going to catch him on the finish line.
Indeed. Well, in a few moments, Tom, we'll have a little look further down the road. For the moment, that West attack, but for the time being we're going to have a look at the confirmation of today's result. No doubt about the winner. I think he held on by around 5 or 6 seconds in at the end. We'll get that in just a few seconds time, but that really was a fascinating watch, all about power, but I've never really seen a race come back together like that at all. But here we go. We have confirmation of the Trofeo Bologna. It is Alex West of Canyon ZCC who wins 4 seconds to the good ahead of Ren Bay. From Fusion ECT, Ryan Larson rounds out the podium for the United States and the indoor specialist at 4 seconds. Then we have Sam Lindsay from Innovation, his teammate in 5th, Samuel Brunland, Matt Gardner, Philip Deigner, Spencer Segbrook of Turbo, Andreas Hartz there at 13 seconds, which just shows how much this was ripped apart. And then rounding out the top 10, Christian Oftendal of KISS RT. Phew! Hannah, what a race. And what an interesting course. I mean, normally used for a time trial, but that was a very, very different sort of spectacle. That regrouping, the ebbing and the flowing, the timing, just made for a wonderful, wonderful race. And this is the race-winning attack. We're going to have a little look at that again. This is the moment that the race was essentially won.
Yeah, you can see West just biding his time here, sat in the wheel of his teammate, in front of his teammate, and everything was kind of just going quite steady. It just come back together after the attack, and West was just, put down such a huge effort here, and no one actually could react. As soon as he opened up the gap, that was it, and off he went. Yeah,
I think that might be one of the attacks from earlier on as well. When we saw the attacks the first time up, of course, that led to, it was Ryan Larson, I think, who attacked off the back of Deigner of the United States to take the early points, the only points on offer in the King of the Mountains. But no doubt about, well, the kind of manner, the way that race was won, it just shows Alex West hung back, didn't he, on the first ascent of the climb, conserved his energy. Well, Kenny Van Goyt, we're going to have a look at his early attack as well, one of the main animators. This was quite an interesting move late on in the race, a bit of an unexpected move.
Yeah, definitely. He just kind of continuously attacked. So he attacked off the front, he got a solo breakaway, and then when the riders were able to bring him back, he just attacked them again. So it was just that counter-attacking that he was trying to break the other riders. And, he opened up, a nice gap for himself, but he maybe went a little bit too early, because actually I think for the efforts that he put in and the energy that he actually expended, could have actually used it on the climb and been up there for the win, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to say, isn't it? I mean, you've got to admire these riders' tenacity and riders who go against the grain a little bit, attack, just mix things up a little bit, because on a course like this that's never really been raced at this level before, you never know what might stick. But anyway, we're going to get a little reminder of the results again. It really was a spectacular race. And I think I might actually have to jump on Zwift in the next few days and try this course for myself. But there we go. The Zwift Classics Trofeo Bologna has been won by Alex West of New Zealand. Then Ray of the Fusion is in second place. And rounding out the top 3, Ryan Larson of the indoor specialist. Well, that was a breathless bit of Zwift racing. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you join us, well, in September. There's back-to-back events on the 4th and 5th of September. Please do join us again. But for now, thanks for watching. Make sure you tune in next time. But for now, from me and from Hannah, it's goodbye.
Bye.
looking to conserve energy after the first climb, you may see them enter Zwift's super tuck position. If the downhill is steeper than 3% and the rider is already travelling over 35 miles per hour, stopping pedalling and reducing power to under